doing there, John Davis True Crime audience? Today, we're going over kind of an old case. This ain't a missing person. This is well, the police want you to think it's an accident. I find it highly unlikely that this was an accident. And I'm pretty sure after I go over all this, you're going to find it as unlikely as I do. Today, we're talking about Christie Carroll. Now, Christie Carroll was found deceased outside of her home on February the 6th of 1995. But before we get to that, we got to go back to February 4th, which was Saturday of 1995. Christie's plan was she was going to stay all night with a friend. Well, the night started out, they went to go have some fun at the bar. They're at the bar, they're hanging out. Christie runs into her brother and some of his friends. And Christie's friend decides, she's going to go home. She finds a ride and she goes home, expecting Christie to be there later that evening. Now, Christie decides she's going to go riding around with her brother and his friends. Now, whoever the driver is that her and her brother are with, he can't take Christie to her friend's house. He has to go pick up his mother from work. So, they're riding around, hanging out, doing their thing, and then they run into Eric Omiker and Daniel Lay. These two tell Christie, hey, no problem. You need to ride to your friend's house? We're your guys. We'll give you a ride to your friend's house. And getting in that car turned out to be a bad mistake for Christie. Because whatever happened to her that night, these two dudes had a big part to do with. So, Christie gets in the car with Daniel and Eric. They go on their merry way. Around 11:50, 12 o'clock, a deputy is out on patrol. The deputy spots a car pulled over to the side of the road. Thinks it might be somebody in distress, so he goes to check on it. Inside the car, you got Daniel, Eric, and Christie. They tell the police officer, hey, car's overheated, but we don't need no assistance. The officer accepts that tale and goes on his way. You can't blame him. He didn't see what was about to unfold. Well, around 2 a.m., there's a car crash. Eric is seen walking away from this car crash, and it's not the car that was spotted earlier that night by the deputy sheriff. Eric's walking away. He's by himself. There's no sign of Christie or Daniel. Okay? And that's at 2 a.m. They were last seen right at midnight. So, the car crash, Eric's last seen walking away. That's all we get from that night. The next day, Sunday, which would be February the 5th, Christie is supposed to meet with family at her grandmother's house for kind of a lunch gathering, right? Well, Christie never shows up. I think at that exact moment, they're not really super suspicious that she didn't make it. They're just thinking that, she went out the night before, she's being 18 years old, not super responsible, and, they're not pleased with her, but, it's not a big deal. Well, later on, they find out Christie never made it back to her friend's house that night. That's when they get suspicious of what's going on. The following day, Monday, February the 6th, is when the mailman delivering mail on his route sees Christie lying near the driveway of her home. Now that I thought was suspicious as to how she ended up at her home when she was supposed to have stayed the night with her friend. And it's very suspicious because Christie's mother goes on to say that Sunday she had been in and out of her house all day long, and she had never seen Christie, never noticed her. But that makes you wonder how she could have missed Christie's body laying there near the driveway that whole day, and she had reported that she had been in and out of the house quite a few times that day. So, Christie's found, and her clothes are in disarray. Her shirt's pulled up. It said the shirt was torn. Her pants were kind of down. She's got blood covering her face. And originally, the coroner did a pretty crap job, to be honest. For some reason, there's 2 different blood alcohol levels listed. One is 0.01, which would barely be drinking anything. The other is 0.10, which is over the limit, but it's not super high. You would think somebody definitely would have enough facilities to walk from the driveway into the house with a 0.10 blood alcohol level. After she's found, the autopsy's done, all that, the cause of death is listed as hypothermia. That's kind of odd. If the only injury she had was the ones they listed, which was like she had a contusion to her groin area and her upper thigh, and she had some blood on her face. You wouldn't think that would be enough, and along with her blood alcohol level, to where she couldn't have made it into the house. So they go back, they learn about her riding around with Eric and Daniel, and they bring Eric and Daniel in for some questioning. Now, Eric and Daniel, they give a few different versions as to how things went down that night. One of their versions is that they took her, pulled in the driveway. Eric says he got her out of the car, walked her straight to the door, and they left. They go on to tell another version. They are pulling away from the house, and as they're watching Christie, as they're pulling away, they see her fall in the driveway. So those are quite different stories. And it is worth noting that they both refused polygraph. Kind of looks like Eric and Daniel have something to hide, right? They go on, and this is October of the same year, 95, and Eric apparently has a come to Jesus moment. He comes, he wants to tell what happened that night, wants to make a statement, but he wants immunity for giving the statement. That would make you think Eric was about to rat out Daniel. You would think. Well, for some reason, the DA wasn't having it, would not agree to an immunity deal for Eric. And after that, Eric's mother, over the advice of an attorney, decides Eric will not be making the statement. And, you know, I can see looking out for your kid, but I wonder if Eric's mother ever thought about what Christie's parents and family had been through, and what him making a statement of what happened that night, how much that could possibly help them, you know, because it seems really selfish. But, I mean, I can understand. My real problem with all that is the DA, if Eric was willing to tell what happened, you got to think that he wasn't directly responsible. You would think the DA would have agreed to that deal, because apparently they were still under the impression it all was just an act. That's where a lot of this issues with mistrust of the police in this circumstances has came in. Also, Christie was found missing her shoes. I thought that was interesting, because you're not going to walk too far without shoes. So, to me, it makes me wonder if she wasn't dumped where she was found. And I don't think she was there Sunday. I think, in my opinion, it seems like most likely she was dumped there Monday, the day she was found. Because like I said, her mom had been in and out all day that day, Sunday, and never seen her. She doesn't have shoes on. Good chance she didn't walk to where she ended up, right? And, you know, For the police to rule that as an accident, you got a girl laying there with no shoes, beat up, clothes torn, disarray, all that makes you question it. Now, the family is quite upset over how all this has been handled, and rightfully so. I would be extremely upset if that was my daughter and things went down like this. I would be really upset myself. So I completely understand the family's anger when it comes to how her case was handled. Like I said, they ruled the death accidental. Let's think about that. Eric and Daniel had admitted that they had propositioned Christie that night, and she had refused. So it makes you wonder if there wasn't an assault after that, especially given how her clothes were. Christie's family would go on to talk about Leigh and Amaker's relationship with the police. It turns out that Leigh had some kind of relationship with the sheriff, and Amaker had a relationship with the DA and with the TBI. So that's where the question of, is there some kind of inappropriate police interference going on with finding out what had happened to Christie? And has that got something to do with why they were so easy to rule this as an accident, even though all the signs that pointed to something more nefarious? I got some final thoughts about this case and how things had happened. You know, and one of them is, why was Eric alone after the crash? Where was Christie and Daniel during the time he was seen walking down the road? It's very suspicious. Now, they said they dropped her off between 12:30 and 1. I don't believe that. And I don't believe that Daniel wouldn't have been with Eric had there not been something else going on. Where was Christie's body all day Sunday? I don't think it was where it was found Monday by the mail carrier. Her mother said she'd been in and out all day long. She would have seen it, I do believe. It doesn't make sense that she didn't see that all day long, yet the mail carrier saw it Monday. I think her body was somewhere else, and I think it was dumped there Monday morning, or Monday before the mail carrier spotted it. The crash that they had, is that where Christie might have received some of her injuries? Were her injuries maybe more severe than they realized, and they let her out, and then, you know, something evolved with maybe a traumatic brain injury or something, and that's why she never made it into the house? Why would the police label this as an accident? What about finding her in the state they did would make you think this was some kind of accident? With the injuries, her clothes in such disarray, the blood on her face, I don't think there's any way that this was an accident. And I don't think, even though there were 2 different blood alcohol levels given on the coroner's report, that a .10 would explain how she couldn't make it into her house if she was dropped off in the driveway, as Daniel and Eric would have us believe. Why did the coroner do such a slack job? Why not do an SA kit, especially with the way her clothes were found? Is that just incompetence on the coroner's part? Is there something more to it? And the biggest thing about this, what would Eric have said had he been granted his deal for immunity? I'm pretty confident he was going to rat out Daniel. And I think that kind of explains why, when he was seen walking down the road, Daniel and Christie weren't with him. I think that could have been around the time whatever happened to Christie happened. And I think that Eric actually may have had a little bit of good in him and wanted to tell what happened. And I think it's really crazy that the DA would not accept a deal, considering they're thinking this is an accident anyway. So why did they refuse to give him a deal of immunity? Does it have something to do with the fact that Both of these guys have some kind of connections with the police. Like I said, I support the police. I think the majority of the police are very good people and they try to do the best job they can. But when you hear cases like this, it makes you really question what the police were thinking by ruling this an accident.